Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you have been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so, along with hitting that thumbs up button for me and drop your comment. Turn on a notification bell so you get alerted when I drop a video, especially during the off season because things are kind of random right now. And this is an interesting video I'm going to approach because there's obviously some big news happened. Rudy Gobert was traded from Utah to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And there's a big debate going on whether the Timberwolves overpaid or not. And then the next part of the debate is what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. Now, here, let's go to the over here. All right, before we get to this part here we go. This is from Knicks feed, and it's actually a quote from Ian Bagley. Knicks have been very hesitant to trade picks necessary for Donovan Mitchell deal. Now, the Timberwolves had to give up 4 first-round picks plus this year's pick, which was Kessler. So Walker Kessler. So in essence, they traded 5 first-round picks for Rudy Gobert, along with a whole slew of players. Vanderbilt, Beasley, forgot who the other ones are. But it was a big haul. I was a little stunned by what it took to get him and whether it was even the right move for Minnesota to do it. My opinion is it was the wrong move. That's my opinion. Will it get Minnesota a little bit further in the playoffs? Yeah, it might. Will it get them anywhere near real competing for a title? No. Now, so they got themselves in a weird position right now, but they're stuck. They have D'Angelo Russell. They have Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, who I love. And now they've added Rudy Gobert. So it's a nice, those are 4 nice players that they have right now. But will it be enough? And is it the type of style of play that you want? I mean, now they have, quote, the best shooting big man in the game. That's what Karl Anthony Towns self-professed. And he did win the 3-point shooting contest, so he backed that up. Wait, did he win? Yeah, I think he won. Either way, and Rudy Gobert is a liability when it comes to end-game playoffs. He often is not on the court because, he just doesn't have much going for him offensively in those moments, in crunch time. Which is probably why Utah has struggled. And Utah got bounced again in the first round this year. So it makes you wonder is it even worth it for the Knicks to look at Donovan Mitchell in a trade? I'm going to look into this, and I'm going to give you my opinion on it. But before we get to that, I'm going to share some stuff here from Ian Bagley. This is a tweet that he put out today, actually, I believe. Opinion. Utah reportedly plans to build around Donovan Mitchell. Several teams are skeptical of that plan. If Jazz can change their mind and ask for a Gobert-like return in a Mitchell trade, I'd expect Knicks to balk at meeting the price. All right, well, that's what I'm going to look into, whether they should balk or whether they should meet the price, whether this is the right time to go all in on a Donovan Mitchell. Is it time? Along came a SPIDA, and is it time to pounce? Well, let's keep going. This is from Tommy Beer, from his newsletter. If you don't subscribe to it, you definitely should. It's fantastic. This is the kind of trade proposal he put forth. Is New York prepared to part with something like R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, Cam Reddish, parentheses Evan Fournier to make the salaries match, and 4 first-round draft picks, which would likely be unprotected or lightly protected at best. So that's what we have to weigh against that. Here's something else that he tweeted out, which is really important to understand what kind of a player Donovan Mitchell is. What kind of a player he would be. This is just to give you a little perspective, also from the Tommy Beer newsletter. It's also important to remember that Mitchell is just 25 years of age, has yet to enter his prime. And that's a scary thought. For some historical context and just how prolific he's been since entering the league, consider this. Through 345 career games, Mitchell has tallied 8,234 points, 1,542 assists, and 1,433 rebounds. Only 5 other players in NBA history have matched or exceeded those totals in those statistical categories through their first career 345 contests. Those 5 players are LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Pete Maravich, Dwayne Wade, and Oscar Robertson. That's some pretty like nosebleed level quality talent to be compared to. That's a big thing right there. Also, something else to bear in mind, Donovan Mitchell, over his entire career, he's averaged 20 points a game. His entire career. His first season was the only time he averaged 20.5. He averaged, for his career, from 3-point line, he has shot 36.1%. But in the playoffs, he's almost at 37%, 36.9%. So he becomes a better 3-point shooter in the playoffs historically than he does in the regular season. The most recent playoffs, though, he shot like 20%. He was like way off. So maybe something might have been up with him, not sure. But it's definitely an outlier stat, but something to keep an eye on when you're considering trading for somebody like him. So what would happen? Also, one more thing. Let's look at something else here. This is from StatMuse. I asked who has the highest career points per game in the playoffs. And number 1, Michael Jordan. Number 2, Luka Doncic. Number 3, Allen Iverson. Number 4, Kevin Durant. Number 5, Jerry West. Number 6, LeBron James. And number 7, Donovan Mitchell. With a career 28.3 points per game. Just ahead of Ja Morant, but with 25 more games than Ja. Ja's, been amazing in the playoffs. 28.2 points per game. Did I say percent? Points per game. 28.3 for Donovan. And look who else is there. Anthony Davis, Elgin Baylor, Brandon Ingram with 6 games. They put him in there for 6 games, but so is Billy Ray Bakes, or Bales, whatever, I can't read it, it's so small. Steph Curry's right there with 134 games. He's averaged 26.6 points per game. So Nikola Jokic. This is some very esteemed company, once again. So how often does a player like this become available? If the Knicks decide If the Knicks decide that they're too hesitant to make this trade, who are they waiting for? What other player is out there? There's Durant. Are they going to go after Durant? There's LeBron. They're going to go after LeBron. Jason Tatum. No, those guys don't become available. Durant becomes available. LeBron becomes available whenever he wants to make himself available. But LeBron's not coming to the Knicks, and Durant, with his bizarro situation, he screwed up with his decision to pick the Kyrie. His ill-fated Kyrie, following Kyrie to the Nets. It's ridiculous. They should have come to the Knicks. They fucked up, just put it plainly, and now it's a total disaster. They're trying to figure out what the hell they're doing. And that's neither here nor there. The point is, very rarely does a player like Donovan Mitchell become available. And he's not necessarily available either. There's discussion that like I mentioned before, Utah is willing to build around him. I'm suspicious of that. I think at some point they're going to be looking to move him. So the question becomes, is it worth it for the Knicks, for Leon Rose, to do it right now? Well, let's go back to Tommy's proposal here. RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier to make the salaries match. Now, I'm not sure if the way he wrote the parentheses, I think he means in place of Cam Reddish, put in Evan Fournier. I think that's what he means. And 4 first-round draft picks. I will say this. Give the draft picks. Give them. Because the team, you put Donovan Mitchell on this team with Jalen Brunson. Yes, it'll be a small backcourt. And you know that I am not in favor of small backcourts, which is probably why I wasn't in favor of signing Jalen Brunson to begin with. Because now you're in this kind of situation. Now you're kind of stuck with having to add size at another position. But that means having to give up a lethal scorer like Donovan Mitchell. So, but here's something to think about. And Tommy did touch on this in his article. And so did actually Macri in his newsletter also touched on it. He wrote a great one too called, his was called Catch a Spider. So if you guys haven't read it, you should definitely check both of those out. I will say this, even though size would be an issue, especially for Thibodeau, you know, he likes larger guards. The offensive potency of pairing Jalen Brunson with Donovan Mitchell together could become so overwhelming for defenses that it could also overcome the issue. The net, let's put it this way, the plus minus on that will probably be in the Knicks' favor every single night. Our two guards will outscore their two guards. That's just what's going to end up happening almost every single night. So that's a good thing, right? Well, we also have we have RJ, we have Julius still, you know, on this team. However, I believe that the way to make this thing work is to get Julius to the Jazz and anything else that's needed, except for RJ. If it requires Emmanuel Quickly, if it requires, well, the thing is, if we move Randall, then we got to keep Obi. But anybody else is worthy. Give him Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier actually would fit nicely in Utah. They need that outside shooting. He gives that to them. He takes very difficult shots off the dribble, 3-point shooting. He's excellent at that. He'll help make up for what they're going to lose by giving up on Donovan in that respect. So I would say, in my opinion, now is the time. If you have an opportunity to get Donovan Mitchell and it doesn't cost you RJ Barrett and it only costs you 4 first-round picks, what are we hoarding those first-round picks for? Then you have to look into it. However, if they do demand RJ, I would balk at that, because then you're left with a team with just Mitchell, Brunson, and then Randall. And I don't believe that a team with Randall on it, even though adding those two guys, is going to really make much noise in the playoffs, especially in the East. Especially if the Nets do end up trading KD to the Heat. And you know the Bucks are going to be better next year. The Celtics are loading up to make another run. Who knows what's going to end up happening with the Nets. But there are a lot of teams in the East that are strong. Look, the Sixers. So I don't believe, that kind of mixture of those 3 guys, Mitchell, Brunson, and Randall, is going to make it happen. However, Mitchell, Brunson, RJ, Obi, and Mitchell Robinson, that is a nice dynamic 5-some where all those guys are before their prime. Donovan's going into his prime. Brunson's going into his prime. RJ hasn't even begun to scratch the surface of his prime. And either has Obi. So that's an interesting 5-some. Those guys can develop chemistry over a couple of years. It could be that could be an exciting team. No, I think Brunson would be the oldest on that squad. And then you add a piece later on. Hopefully your younger guys develop a little further, and maybe we acquire some other trade assets. Maybe we can pick up some first-round picks by flipping some guys, or who knows, maybe Cam Reddish develops into something, a dynamic wing. Well, these are the things we have to bear in mind. These are the things, when you're trying to build a team that can compete for a championship, sometimes you have to take some risks and swing for the fences. Right now, if we were able to do it, well, keeping RJ, I say go for it. If not, then you wait. Maybe next year at this time, we're in the exact same situation in terms of Utah wanting to trade Donovan. But in the future, the Knicks will be in a better bargaining position. That's the upside of waiting. But there aren't that many guys like Donovan. And if he truly becomes available now, this offseason, the Knicks and Leon have to take a very serious look at trying to make that deal happen. Okay, thank you guys for watching this. Again, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, hit the thumbs up button, and definitely drop your comments. I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about this, adding Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks. Okay, I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.